thinks like you think is going to be successful. And Rosa, on the pastoral council, one of our focus goals is how do we get 18 to 36-year-olds back in the church? So if Christy is available, we'd love to talk to her. And that's what you did is wonderful. I was brought up in a great, loving family. My mom was a very devout Catholic, and my dad was not Catholic, but he was a great dad. And they sent my sisters and I went to Catholic elementary, Catholic high school, Paternoster. My buddy of over 50 years is in the back here. We're playing golf tomorrow, and we played for 48 years golf together. And his lovely wife, Rosalie, are best friends, and went to high school together, and then I went to the University of San Francisco and graduated. When I graduated from college, I was the first one in the family. My dad wrote me a letter. And it was a neat letter that I kept for years, and then I gave it to my youngest son. And what he said basically was he was really proud of me, and that's great, you stuck it out, and you overcame some things, and that's really neat, and Jay, you're going to be very successful. But what he said that really impacted me, and I kept this thought in my mind during my entire working career, and also as I mingle with people in life, he says, don't forget, he says, you're going to work your way up the ladder, and you're going to do well. He says, some of it's going to be your doing. But he says, most of the doing to get you promoted are the people under you. He says, so I want you to promise never to forget the people that were below you and take better care of them than you expect to get back. And so those were great words from a guy that never finished high school. Different generation. But I graduated from college on June the 2nd, 1968. Drove home from San Francisco and started Sears June 4th on that Monday. And I continued to 2002 and then retired. So that's the only job I really had other than the part-time jobs I went through college. And so I experienced many great things interacting with people, and I really loved that part of the job. And you were always challenged because, as you said, you can imagine what happens in a big store. There's always drama. And one of the stories I want to tell you about is at the Montclair store when I worked there for 5 years as store manager. It was a relatively large store, 156,000 square foot, at 400 employees. We did $50 million in sales. So when you have 400 employees, I think at any one time, 1%, there's real problems, walking around ready to explode. One of the things that we did back then in the 90s, we replenished the store early in the morning before customers came in. So we had a replenishment crew from 5 in the morning to 10 in the morning. They'd go home, the store opens, and we're doing business to 9 at night, repeated 7 days a week. I used to like to get in the store at 7, walk around and see what's going on. Just kind of percolating and circulating to see what the departments look like, who needs help, who didn't show up, that type of thing. One morning I go to the hardware department, Sears, Craftsman Tools, all that. And I knew all the employees of the full-timers by name, and so I'd go over there and, hi Rosa, how are you today? And Rosa would say, fine, Jay, and keep on walking. I see Martha, and she took care of wrenches and sockets. I go, and normally an upbeat lady. Now Martha's background, she was abused by her husband, divorced. She had a son that died of AIDS. But you wouldn't know it by her way. She came to work with a smile on her face and she worked hard. So I see Martha over there on her knees doing some stock work. I go, Martha, how are you today? She doesn't answer. I go, she must not have heard me. So I get closer. I go, Martha, how are you today? She doesn't look up. So now I know there's a problem. So I get real close to her and I go, Martha, it's Jay. And I see tears coming down her eyes. So now I go, oh my God, what's up? I go, Martha, are you okay? Shakes her head no. So I go, Martha, why don't we go in the office and take a break? So we go in my office. And I said, Martha, there's some big problem. What's the matter? And she said, I think I'm going to end it today. Oh, Martha, what are you talking about? And she goes, my whole life is just a black cloud. I can't take it. And I go, Martha, I said, would you mind if I called the local priest down here at Our Lady of Lourdes Parish, and maybe he could help guide us on what to do? She shook her head and she goes, okay. I didn't know what to do. You know, I mean, this is none of the Sears manual. What you do in these situations. So I said, Martha, I tell you what, why don't you go outside in the conference room? Got her a water. I said, just sit there tight for a minute. I'm going to call Father and see if we can't get in. So I call the rectory, get the secretary, and go, look, this is in October. Remember, the World Series was going on. And I said, you know, the secretary, I said, I need to talk to Pastor, his name is Father Robert, right away. She goes, I'm sorry, he's busy. I go, look, I can't wait. This is an emergency. Please get me Father Robert. Father Robert comes to the phone. I go, Father Robert, it's Jay. You don't know me. I'm the store manager at Sears Montclair. I've got an employee here that's ready to end it. I need your help. She's going to talk to you. Are you willing to talk to her? He goes, yes. I said, I need to come down right now. And I said, Father, you need to grand slam. This lady is on her last leg and she's ready to call it quits. And so he was a great guy. Bring him down. I meet him privately and I said, Father, do your thing. And I said, call me when you're done. I'll pick her up. So about an hour or so later, he calls and says, Jay, can we get Martha? So I come and get Martha. She gets in the car and she goes, I'm okay. And it was, you know, I don't know what sent me to the hardware department. Find her on the floor doing sockets. Some people say luck. Some people say the Holy Spirit. Something was working. Got this priest. He did his job, and she was okay. And she got through her black moment. We all have black moments when it's tough. And poor Martha had nobody to bounce to. And I don't know what's happened to her. This was back in 1997. But it really struck me. That was one thing of the faith, how it interacts with profession. And it was you know, when I was thinking of this and telling Dennis and Jane about it, it brought back all this stuff emotionally. Geez, what would have happened if we didn't connect? In the same department, in the same store, there was a young man in his 30s, a recovering alcoholic, divorced, with an 8-year-old son named James. And one day, Irma, the manager of the hardware department, calls me frantically and says, Jay, James just got called to Loma Linda Hospital. Something's wrong with his 8-year-old son. It's very serious. I said, well, keep me posted. So at the end of the day, Irma comes in the office and said, oh no, there's something really wrong, boss. His young son, James Jr., he said, may not make it. Well, I can't fathom that thought. So I get in the car after work, I drive to Loma Linda, and I find him in ICU. There's his estranged wife over here, he is over here, go over there, and, you know, give him a hug, and I go, come on, James, what's up here? And he goes, Jay, I don't know if my son's going to make it. The doctor said he has a brain aneurysm. And, you know, it happened in his head. And they're telling me it's 50-50. I said, you know, I'm sorry. I said, we can't give up. There's still hope here, so let's fight the good fight. And, you know, poor guy, put yourself in his shoes, you'd be falling apart, right? And I said, listen, I'm going to come back tomorrow, and I'm going to check on you, and you just hang in there. Don't keep believing. Don't give up. Come back the next day. He had emergency surgery, and then he goes, I want you to see my son. We go in the ICU unit, you know, all this stuff, all these tubes and the monitors and the beeping, and it was like, I was overwhelmed for me just to see it. And I'm thinking, well, how's this poor guy feeling? It's his son. And I think this was on Saturday. I said to him, beloved James, you're on a tough road right now. Don't give up. Maybe there's a prayer or something you could say to help you. I said, my wife and I, Mary, are going to remember you in Mass tomorrow. So just hang in there. I said, I'm going to come back on Monday night and see how your son's doing. I said, but I want to tell you something. Monday, before we open the store, I'm going to have a store-wide meeting. And we're going to not talk about sales. We're not going to talk about customer service. We're going to talk about you and your family. And and we're going to do something different. We're going to say a prayer on your behalf for your family. I said, James, we're going to, we opened the store at 10 o'clock, so this was at 9:35. We met on that Monday morning and brought everybody up to date. They all knew something was wrong, but about 85 people showed up in the morning. And we met and we said, listen, this isn't about sales, everybody. This is about James, one of our employees, and his son. He's questionable. So what I'd like to do is say an Our Father together. Those of you that don't know all the words, you don't have to say it. Those of you that don't believe, think a positive thought. It doesn't matter, but this guy needs help. So we did that, and we didn't say very much after that. And we said there's going to be a box in the office. Anybody wants to donate? Come see James tonight. We'll give him the money, and the store will match with whatever you give. We'll double it. And so that night, go see James, and his demeanor's totally different. I see him, and I can tell something's better. I go, James, how you doing, buddy? And he goes, Jay, my son's gonna make it. I go, oh my God, good. I go, how do you know? He goes, the doctors came this morning and told us that he's out of the woods, that he's going to be okay. He's not going to have brain damage. It's going to take 3 months to mend, but he's going to be okay. I said, James, at 9:35 to 9:55 this morning, we had a store-wide meeting, and we prayed for your son. It was an unbelievable experience, and who interceded? And everybody in their own way did their thing. And he was the recipient of something good that happened. And 3 months later, they called to the hardware department. There's James and James Jr. And he wanted to see him. His hair was still goofy. It wasn't right. But there he was. And we hugged and shook hands and laughed. And James, going through this drama, who was a recovering alcoholic. He never took a drink. I said, James, do you realize how strong you are? And he said, I get it. And that was a huge thing, too. And that was maybe one of all the neat things that happened. And I loved my time with Sears, 34 years of it, most of it. That's a lot of minutia, but that was one of the best things that ever happened. And then lastly, I went to the Sears Cereal store, and that was a huge store in 1998. It was 278,000 square foot, 500 employees, and we did $55 million, but it was broken. It was a beautiful store, merchandised perfectly. In fact, it was the model for all the stores. Like this is the way you present merchandise. This is the way you show displays. But as far as working with people, working with customers, we were awful. And so we established, after 4 months, we were going to change the culture. And it's the little handout thing, Dennis. And many of you have probably seen this quote, but we put it on the shirt. The employee entrance, along with we had a mirror, and it says, this is what the customer sees, so you can see yourself. But we had this quote that really loved, and most of you probably have heard this. 2 stone cutters were asked what they were doing. The first said, I'm cutting this stone into blocks. And the second replied, I'm on a team that's building a cathedral. So what we boiled it down to was, do you want to be a stone cutter or do you want to be a cathedral builder? If you want to be a stone cutter, go work for Montgomery Ward's. If you want to be a cathedral builder, well. And so with that philosophy, we started to attack. One of the big weaknesses is our employees didn't trust customers totally. Like somebody comes in with a return, maybe 2% or 2 out of 100 would steal, but 98 don't. So don't put all 98 through hell. Just say yes, and we can absorb the 2%. And that philosophy of, it's company policy, you got to ask the manager. Don't want to hear that crap. You make the decision. Whatever you do, it's going to be okay. And if it's wrong, we'll tell you later, and you're not going to get in trouble. So if you have that philosophy of treating people properly and empowering yourself to make decisions, wouldn't you want that if you were a customer? Wouldn't you want to be treated that way? So the scenario was we were in 24 months prior, we had sales decreases for 22. Our customer service score out of 26, we were 26th. And in inventory recovery, we lost $1.5 million. After doing this, and we had a bunch of meetings, and they started on time, they ended on time, and the message was, approach the customer, be nice to the customer, know what you're talking about, and don't treat them like they're in jail. They'll be back. We went to #1 in customer service. We had 12 straight sales increases, and we cut our inventory shrinkage by $1 million. So our score out of 856 was #1. And they threw a bunch of us back there, and they gave me 20 grand. Here, Jay, you can do what you want. Now, first thought was, well, I'm going to spend this. but actually, it was the people that did all the work, and we were all involved in it. And so what we did is we had one big party at the Cerritos Sheraton, and we handed out money to the managers. There was 12 of them. They all got $700. But then we spent the rest on, we had a DJ and music, and we had prizes. We had over 200 people show up for this party. I couldn't believe it. And we were handing out Nordstrom gift certificates, $100 bills, barbecues, bicycles, whatever. And it was just like, wow, it's Christmas all day long. And they never forgot it, and it just made us better for the following year. But the whole thing was, we had this concept of cathedral builders. And every time somebody did something right in customer service, we went down to the sales floor and said, you did it, you trusted people, you did the right thing. And gave them a little block with their name on it, and we built a cathedral in our employee entrance. And so block by block, we built outstanding customer service. And we called it Notre Cerritos. Anyway, to come to an ending, it was really a great thing. People had to shift their mindset on believing in themselves, and that people are good, and then to do it. And it worked. Shortly after that, I said, adios. That's it. Any questions?
Did you find, Jay, that it took a lot of courage to do some of the stuff you did?
The Our Father, that was a big deal. And I was sitting there thinking, because I know the employees, and I know who the pain in the butt is, and who the one, that kind of stuff. And then I knew the ones that go, oh man, that's great. So I said, who cares? This is bigger. And I knew my boss pretty good. I didn't think he'd go crazy. And if he did, well, it's done. So, oh well. And would never ask a question if I thought I might get an answer I didn't want. So I avoided that.